Ladies and gentlemen, how you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
This is Rangru. Low, low, low.
And folks, we decided that Suppression hasn't gotten enough warfare yet. Rang, who's fighting here now?
On the left hand side in the blue, we have the rather elegantly named buff 4 times 20mm, you retard Eugene, otherwise known as Lunar Love God, playing 4th Alpini with a Maverick income. Right hand side in red, we have Farid Rommel playing 44th Guard Strelocki with a Maverick income.
I think Farid Rommel's one of those guys to be saying buff the Axis powers, you knob.
Yeah.
It's just because of the name. So I do have to agree a little bit over here with Luna. I think that 20 mils, especially the quad 20 mils, might need to get a little bit of a love there. But hey, I think I'm just happy to see the Monte Rosa division over here down to the south. Of course, these guys are not in the best position, as in the next 30 seconds, their initial push is going to turn into the Convoy of the Damned.
Yes, it's just like ST-44 with the Auto Blindato rush, but it's making good progress. All the snipers are caught out in the open. They can't 360 no scope. 20mm of armor, right? Yeah, and we even got the AS-40 providing some fire support. So, honestly, a very ballsy but effective breakout here from Luna. Also, going to be able to capture the far southern and technically the lung position as well. Wow, wow.
So, yeah, true, but look at how this artillery is going to drop.
And look at the T-34, who's right, yeah, close range, ready to pick off a bunch of Italian light armor.
I think it's a little bit unfair to call it light armor. I think that implies that there is armor to be lighted.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that I really feel there's a lot of love for that here. Auto Blindata, by the way, on the Russian lung, able to engage those half-tracks, and that's about it.
Yeah, we're seeing some Alpinis with Faust try to push up onto the hill to deal with Rommel's infantry breakout up north. And all the way up north, Rommel does manage to capture both flags in the town, but not that much aggressive fighting from either side, really.
Half-track does go down, tank to the north goes down, the tank with the Saniki getting actually absolutely shellacked by the Pionieri and the Alpini. Pionieri, excuse me. But regardless, there's now not a Soviet within a kilometer of that hill.
Yeah, that's going to be a very good capture for Luna. And the main question is whether he can exploit it and actually get some, support wrapping around that hill so he can keep control of it, especially onto the southern side, as that of course allows you to really lock down the far southern side, as you can just shoot that supply line.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With the 75 mil actually trying to go and engage the SU-152, no, he's engaging the T-34. I didn't quite appreciate, honestly, quite how good this is, and then I remembered, oh yeah, it's a Pak-40.
Yep. But the T-34 at long range does have decent armor, so it's going to take the 75 mil quite a few door knocks to blow him up, and blow him up he finally shall.
Certainly true, certainly true. And heck, even the Italians are even taking the southern hilltop, which is traditionally, I would argue, a Soviet position.
You mean like a right side position type thing?
Yeah, I think so. It's just, you have the better kind of road access to it.
Yeah, and also just like the hills is quite nice, but as well the artillery will be dropping, and that's going to allow his Guardia to come on through and pretty much pick up what remains of the Italians, which isn't going to be too much, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing about this, isn't it? The artillery actually ended up getting dropped at just a smidge long, but it was more than enough to still at least kind of shatter that position for the time being, and just in time for another 2 squads of guards and an SU-152 and a T-34 to move on in, and just so many new friends.
So. You want to say hello?
Exactly, exactly. A bit of an explosive personality when you start to get to know some of the Pioneers, for example. And Superiors when they come on in. Also, again, very, very explosive personalities. And Auto Blindata over here trying to go and engage the guard DPs. Yeah. With kind of predictable results as the guard DPs get flanked, so.
Yeah, we definitely want to back up against anti-tank rifle fire. But it does seem like Luna has been able to push very effectively and capture good ground, but is a little bit overextended. Farid Rommel doesn't have, as much territorial gains, but the forces that he has on the field, specifically his tanks, are much more scarier.
I think that's a fair way to put it, is that the tanks are scary. And like you said, the Italians' tanks are more of a vibe. And the best, and let me not be misunderstood to say that P-26 over here isn't surprisingly beefy for what it is. But engaging a T-34 or, you know, one of the higher levels of the T-34-85s, not what you want to be doing with those guys.
Yeah, that's the one problem, of course, with Alpini is your lack of tanks and anti-tank fire support. Really, you really have to rely on those few Pak-40s one does get. Apart from that, it's going to be about, I think, very good use of air power here for Luna. He does have a lot of aircraft at his disposal, and especially later on in the game when all these tanks eventually bite the dust, he's going to need to start bombing the Soviets to smithereens.
And I don't know how easy that's going to be, because there's not a multitude of them. There's only 2 Yak-3s, but there's also a hefty chunk of anti-air, or potential anti-air.
Yeah, and a heavy anti-air. It's got the 85mm AA guns, which are pretty damn good at warding off bombers, so a good anti-aircraft net yet from Rommel, and also using it as a more direct fire support weapon can turn out to work rather well. So Luna really needs to try to just play on these hill positions, get up close and use his infantry advantage to try and shield the deal.
And here's one of those German aircraft now, as the Ju-87 comes in to try to go after the Su-152. And kind of unlike Tuesday's match, and I'm not going to go too much further than to say this, there's not a whole lot in the way of Soviet anti-air. Yes, there's a 25mm. But a little bit underwhelming, because we might see two... Yep.
Oh! Wow, that's some Hans Rudolph crap right, yeah. Actually doing a very effective strafing run. That's really going to relieve a little bit of pressure from Luna.
And I would argue that a single 25mm should not be able to shoot that down. Of course,
Yeah, it shouldn't be able to.
Go down? Oh, no, okay.
Yeah.
Checking back into the north for a moment, Pionieri kind of doing their thing back and forth. Oh, no, excuse me, the Tu-25, who has dropped his bombs. Where he's dropped those bombs, I did not pay attention. And, you know, and some Italian Drago over here, forced to retreat his G-55 back to the other front. So.
Oh. And we have seen Rommel has managed to curb the momentum back to his advantage with 13-11. He's got the far southern hill under control. He's got a good foothold in his lung position, and it's just a little bit of skirmishing up and down in the far northern point. So he's doing well. If he can just get into these like more long-range meat grindery engagements, Rommel can definitely win.
He can definitely win, but only if he doesn't try to go into these close-in fighting, I would argue, because you still have to deal with the Faust, but with the Alpini Berettas are still really good. The Alpini MGs are still really good. And, I don't know, even the Bersaglieri do have a very well-rounded weapons assortment. So the Italian infantry, under-equipped in terms of tank support, but not under-equipped in terms of elan or fighting strength.
Yeah, they're very good infantry. As I just saw, like an Su-152 one-shotted a Pak-14. That's exactly the type of kills Farid needs to go for. You knock out all the anti-tank, and then his SUs can just run around amok. I mean, this is one of those matchups where you don't even need the ISU-152. The SU's more than enough. You just need high explosives. And big high explosives, yeah.
Exactly. So we are getting more of an anti-aircraft net down to the south. There's one of those 85s you were talking about. But the central position in the lung, well, things are looking rather blue, as the guard squads are getting kind of squeezed out by Alpinis and Pionieri. So.
Yeah, and with that heavy investment down south currently for Rommel, he doesn't really have anything to try and secure his lung position back. And that T-34, what is he going to do with it? Is he going to charge it up and get it killed by a Faust, or maybe relocate?
Or C, both A and B.
Or both too. Oh, I do like what Rommel's doing here with his tank adjacent ED key. trying to relieve a little bit of pressure by going for the other hill. Really unloading time, because that Vesigalari, I can't say properly, does have a Faust.
He's got a Faust, and he does not unload in time. And even down to the southern side, geez, the Alpinis, these guys, Alpine troops take a look at this hill and go, that's not a hill. And very easily, I would argue, are taking it. Again, like I said, MG42s, not saying they're walking around 2,000 rounds of it, but there's a lot of firepower in those squads.
Yeah, the Soviet infantry can just not hold up against that much firepower. It's really going to come down to Rommel using his tanks effectively. In this case, the T-34 hasn't been able to provide any fire support, probably in fear of anti-tank weaponry, but as we can see, there's no long-range anti-tank weaponry that he should fear of. Oh, good use of mortars. I like it. I like it a lot.
I was going to note the fact that we had these crisscrossing contrails of artillery strikes. And speaking of actually those anti-tank systems, T-34 in the center, he relocated and he died. So it looks like everybody's a winner.
Yeah. No, that's a good use of anti-aircraft counter battery. Yeah, 85mm will probably go down. And yeah, if he can keep anti-aircraft just systems suppressed, he can start bringing in his aircraft and, you know, to blow everything up. Because by God, he's gonna need to blow everything up from the air.
Which is true. But I think the Su-152 over here still has more than enough to say about that, as another strike's going to go after this Alpini Fausts. And, yeah, murking them from way downtown. Now, northern side, we are seeing, I think, a concentration of troops. I mean, he is bringing in basically what amounts to Italian, you know, oh my god.
That's trooping.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking about. I was struggling to have the name there. But yeah, Italian Airstaffstruppen, and he gets a ton of them for a wee 15 points, but wee might be the good way to describe them, because there's not a whole lot of firepower to be had.
They do have a machine gun. Yeah, it is one of the worst machine guns in the war, to be fair. But it's still a machine gun, so it's something at least. But, yeah, they're really just here to more hold the line. The Pioneers and the Alpinis, the regular Alpinis are a little bit more useful on the offense.
Yeah, but of course saying, you know, they've got a machine gun is sort of like saying, well, they've got all four limbs.
Mm-hmm. For now.
Exactly, but they're missing most of their fingers.
Yeah.
Like, it's, to put it maybe in a more of a 21st century thing, it's like going viral on TikTok for your biggest embarrassment.
It's pretty much all TikTok viral videos, really. You just haven't realized it yet.
You know, honestly, I don't think I ever will, because I do not have TikTok, and I don't think I'm going to change that.
Oh, when I meant by realized that, I meant by, like, the person who uploaded the video, not you.
Oh,
just,
absolutely.
Just to clarify.
Oh, no, absolutely. Hey, ooh, super early 25mm. Oh, geez, and Italian Drago over here comes up with a wingman. Taken out, I think they took out one of those Yak 3s. They are getting engaged right now by ground fire, but, you know, big deal again. It's a 125mm. This isn't the 85mm you were talking about before, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not going to be that scary. We are seeing the 37mm being brought up in all fear, so it does seem like Rommel is starting to... And another 85mm, so he is investing quite a bit in heavy anti-aircraft net, which is what he needs to do. He just needs to be on point of relocating those anti-aircraft guns after shooting, otherwise he's going to face a bit of counter-battery fire.
True. 82mm stovepipes, though, trying to engage the town a little bit. We see the one to the central position trying to engage the Germans on the hilltop. And down south, not a whole lot at the moment. We are going to see the 82mm going to move east to west over here, maybe potentially getting some fire on the Alpinis on the downslope of that hill. But I think we're in a relative quiet right now as artillery starts to kind of feel each other out a bit.
Yeah, both sides have managed to kind of set up their positions and are trading about with mortars, and lots of mortars all spread out. I do love seeing good mortar play. So, oh, we are seeing a little push onto the far southern hill of the Alpinis. Yeah, he's going to go into Luna's favour and flip it over.
I mean, yes, but also kind
No.
of no.
No. I spoke too soon. The Superiors are holding and they're pretty beefy still.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what you need. The superior kind of positioning, superior ideology, and of course, a little bit of TNT doesn't hurt.
I heard it's dynamite.
Ooh. Ooh.
Put up a fight.
You know, I'm angry, but I'm also proud.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a good type of angry.
I want to be angrier, but I can't. Basically area over here going down, and with that, there goes a hefty chunk of territory.
Oh,
Yes, there's still an M15 there. Yes, there's another M15 a little bit further north. But two superiors, and I would argue they can rotate around to get some, some artillery support. Not super terrifying.
that's a very good position to play for Rommel, because even though the forests and the hills can be quite scary, he can zone out the open ground quite easily. So if he was to try to avoid getting too deep into these forest fights, and just try to capture, the edge flag here on the southern tip, the one slap bang in the middle on the road, those would be very good positions to try and take control over.
Interestingly, we are seeing counter battery fire to the northern side as the basic 75 mils engaging, 81 mils are engaging, but a 152 barrage in 30 seconds, I think, first of all, is going to prove rather devastating for these poor Italians. Also because they can't get past, I would argue, that kind of outpost positioning within the next 20.
Yeah, that is going to be a very deadly artillery barrage. And he does have Tanko Desnitki ready to follow up afterwards. So if he plays his cards right, that could be a massive territorial gain here for Farid.
And I'm wondering, we are seeing a little bit of falling back. I thought for half a second it might be kind of like that Spidey sense kicking on in, but no, it is not. And those first rounds are brutal. And there's the two squads of Tango Tesaniki. Yeah, this could cause a total collapse in northern town. Like, this is devastatingly good in terms of
Yeah.
kind of shove.
And pretty much everything has been stressed out and pinned down. There's no real leaders in sight as well, so those guys are going to be forced to surrender. One Tanko Desnitki unloading in a more defensive position, the other one is just going full hog. Manages to get one surrender.
And the Pionieri squad, I mean, one of those Alpini reclutes was so confused he was running the wrong direction to fall back.
I saw. But yeah.
And with the Pionieri dead, I mean, that is a hefty chunk of equipment and just infantry just absolutely destroyed.
And he is still pushing with the half tracks, and this could prove to be quite deadly here, because he's getting very close to this artillery line. And if he could put down some machine gun fire before those tanks come, he can knock out some rather nasty artillery guns. But nope, he's going to back off, seeing those tanks come up.
I kind of like that. While we turned away, by the way, southern side, we are going to see both the superiors do go down. We're going to see another artillery strike on the southern hill. And T-34-76, T-34-85 Camarotti coming in to reinforce the ailing kind of defensive lines here. Actually, geez, the Italians are coming every single direction. We see
Whoa.
the RE-2000s, we see the G-55s, we see another Ju-87. They're all going after the central position.
On the 85mm, not getting set up in time, and he is going to pay the ultimate price by being bombed by the thing he was sworn to destroy, the Ju-87 coming in, and that's how you do an airstrike, ladies and gentlemen.
Yak-3 does go get a kill on one of those Ju-87s. The Drago's over here. If I'm that Yak-3, I'm gonna just call up Winchester and get out.
Yeah.
There you go.
Really effective striker. That was... I mean, he did lose the Ju-87, but he's gonna have to take a few aerial casualties if he wants to continue putting on the pressure. And he's still managing to control the central forest positions, as Farid doesn't really want much of that. He's just trying to push along in the southern plateau of a whole heap of armoured forces, which can work if he can just play well in the open, maybe push all the way to the rest, and just try to shoot down from the hill, that'd be a very good position for him to get himself into. But you also expose yourself to being shot from the flank from these hill positions.
True. True. Just take a look in the meantime, though. A lot of the recruit Alpinis coming down between, let's call it the bronchi, the bronchial tube of those lungs. And unfortunately, they're not going to have a whole lot of wind in that push. In fact, they're just getting roasted and toasted by SU-152s, T-34-76s, and a little bit of supporting Pioneer doing their own, Superi, doing their own cross-country trek. So.
Yep. You know, Alpinis definitely learning, you know, the valuable lesson of not being out in the open in the middle of a road when there's Soviet tanks flying about. You know, I don't think the Italians are, especially the ones in Italy, expecting, you know, to have to fight Soviet tanks.
Oddly enough, maybe not in the middle of Italy, but yeah, there was a fair share of Italians on the Eastern Front.
Yeah, they were. Probably risk they weren't, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a lot of them. The Romanians thought that. The Hungarians thought that. Artillery strike to the northern side. This is going to potentially shut down that reinforced Italian push. Yep, that's really quite well. Even those tanks don't want to repel firepower like that, so they're I think being a little more intelligent about this, not being super aggressive. That's the right call.
Yeah, really just more of a defensive counter-battery, not counter-battery, but just artillery barrage, yeah. But, of course, Luna will still hold the position, and he can just continue to keep throwing out Alpini recruits into it. You don't care if they get blown up, that's their job. It's, you know, part of the training exercise.
Oh, but most guys who pass training don't, well, they don't tend to see active combat.
Only the really good ones do.
Yeah.
All 5 of them.
Well, I wasn't even say only the good ones do. I was actually going the other direction with that. Actually, guys who fail get sent to the front. It's really more of a remedial training.
Mm-hmm. We're just seeing just a whole heap of artillery. It's a very heavy artillery battle, but not so much in terms of the caliber of the guns, but the quantity of them. We're seeing a whole bunch of mountain 75 mils down south and the 81 mil mortars up north. Farid has just invested not 1, not 2, but 3 Su-76s. And it seems like he's going to be using them as fire support directly instead of... Yeah, that's quite weird. He usually uses those ones. Oh no, those are the tank destroyer ones. I'm an idiot. I thought they were the artillery tab runs. So yeah, you do want to use them in a direct fashion.
You're not an idiot, you're just Canadian.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand.
I was going to say it's about to step up and being an American, but I mean, if you say so. Let's just say you live your life on top of America. I understand. Su-76 is, though, going to engage and turn one M15 into a smoldering husk. Other one probably closely following that behind. And I might be wrong here, but I feel like Farid Rommel is slowly gaining some positive moments here.
Yeah, he's managing to trade somewhat effectively and just gaining control of the more open areas. Of course, when he tries to play CQC games, it goes quite nasty for him. But he just has so many tanks in his deck, even though he's not even a tank division, just basic T-34s and Su-152s will provide a whole heap of necessary firepower. But it's I don't know, it's going to come down once again to good air power from Luna, and also this artillery game, because this artillery game from him has been extremely strong. Really have enough supplies to keep it up, however.
Well, if you're going to concentrate that much firepower, you should be able to accomplish most of what you're doing. Maybe not all of it, but most of it. Out in the off maps, I think the southern push has real potential.
Oh yeah. He's be able to clear up that far southern hill and get it back under his control. And he's also using his artillery to try to counter-battery the anti-aircraft guns. The Superior's trying to make a play for the hill. Gonna get a few decent kills, but not gonna make that much progress.
Yeah, and I think that's a reasonable kind of call out here too, is to say that they'll get some stuff done, but not a huge amount.
Especially when you're up against bloody Italian pioneers who have grenades and flamethrowers, the ultimate run-to combo.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Very, very true. And coupling the fact that we have a 75 mil sitting over here in the back pocket. I mean, not the biggest push over here in the meantime. Ooh, I'm sorry. I'm watching as this G55 should try to engage the Tu-22S. But the Tu-2S gets its bombs off, which means the center of town's about to evaporate. Or at least part of that town's about to evaporate. Yep. There we go.
Yep. Decent hit on the gun. We're seeing just, yeah, more. I really do like how he's focusing on the anti-aircraft guns in the back here. It's working out very effectively because, as we're seeing, Luna has been able to, keep calling in the air power. And the air power has been quite vital. Yeah, far southern's, side, there's no tanks left in Rommel. They're all gone kaput.
Yeah, but and that's not unexpected. I'm sorry, I was watching the stovepipes as they try to take out the Superiors, even as all of those artillery guns are going after the 25 mils. So, again, there's so much going on here, and it's bizarre to just kind of try to wrap your head around it. Yak 3 taking out a spotter plane. There's a 90 mil that's being brought onto the field for some strange reason, and the northern town just doesn't exist anymore. The entire town square has become the town level playing field.
Yeah, it's more like a town moon recreation at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're seeing, some Italian light tanks being thrown into the fray, but his F-276s are just providing absolutely lovely fire support. He's not being too ballsy with them, he's keeping them back, and just trying to pick off whatever Italian infantry dare cross their line of fire.
But I think that's the right call. I think that's the right move. You don't want to go and be too aggressive with the Su-76s. They're not made to truly be up close and personal consistently.
No.
But hey, these guys are still rather successful as they do it, so hey, who am I to say?
But yeah, it's very interesting. We're back to a Trove. I mean, Farid has been leading the lead by quite a bit, but especially the recent developments in the far southern flank, it does seem like Luna can make some pretty good momentum in this area. He has lost the opposing lung position, but he could pretty easily get back on there. It's not really anything to stop him from just walking up.
True. I suppose here's another question too. Phase C, neither one of these guys technically made their division for it. Who wins Phase C with what they have?
Oof, that's tough. I mean, at the same time, I don't know, it's pretty fair. I think it's pretty fair. Both sides of the infantry to survive, which is very important. And both sides of C-phase tanks, wherever Luna's tanks are, Italian light tanks, and Farid has, a 10 carge of T-30, or 10 T-3485s in C-phase, which is a lot of heavy-duty firepower. Expensive firepower, mind you, and that's hard to afford in C-phase. Honestly, I think I want to give it a little bit more to Luna, just mainly due to the fact that his C-phase stuff is cheaper. It's not as good, but it's cheaper.
And the other thing, too, is that he has the artillery park.
Yes.
I mean, we're not talking about, Antalyusha coming on into a little Katya doing her thing and just taking out all that artillery. But, yeah, within 500 meters, it's a kilometer across, there's 6 different positions. And while there's a depleted supply truck, there's also a little bit of anti-air. So it's a very well-rounded kind of position there.
Yeah, the artillery has just been constantly firing, and definitely he has got his money's worth from it. And he's now pushing back onto the opposing lung. I think that's pretty much just going to be the key play. Control that. Just try to get the 1311. Maybe try and fight up north, but Farid is very well dug in, just thanks to the Su-76's back. Oh, never mind, the off-map artillery's dropping, and is going to completely reverse that. Maybe. Or mostly reverse that. Maybe a little reversal.
2 out of 3 ain't bad. I don't know. Killing 2 Su-76s with a single artillery barrage. Man, there have been matches we've seen where you have 3 or 4 artillery barrages getting dropped on a single tank and it hasn't done anything. So, a little hard to take that.
One of the downsides of having an open top, you do get the nice convertible feeling, but you know, being a convertible and a 152mm shell drops on top of you, you know, it's not ideal. You want a little bit of cover.
That's true, but what about the chicks?
Yeah, I think it's worth the risk at that point.
I mean, it's not exactly American graffiti, but it's one of those moments that's still really quite important to kind of really keep in mind about, well, the ladies. So.
That's why the Germans use a lot of open top tank destroyers. They're trying to pick up people. Yeah. Pick up all the Babiushkas on the Eastern Front.
That must be what it was.
Yes.
You're right. Guard squads being brought on in over here in the meantime. Alpini Verkluta, like you said. Super dirt cheap. Super inexpensive. And there's a bloody lot of them, so... Kinda hard to fight off everything like that. Resurgent kind of M14s on the northern side as well. And when's the last time we saw an Su-85, excuse me, a T-34-85 come out?
It's been a little bit. Most of them have all been, well, blown up. We've seen Farid invest in a bit in infantry and more, you know, cheaper support guns, which makes sense. Man's managed to keep control of the flag, at least, on his lung position, so that's a pretty vital hold, but he's not taking down Luna, and he needs to try to make some sort of play, and I think that play is happening in the far south.
Yeah, and it's a very slow one, to be sure, but if you do take out that artillery park, yeah, I agree with you. I think that is the way to really, really kick Luna over here in the teeth.
About how he's going to do it. Doesn't really have much artillery to counter battery with his own, or really any airplanes to try and bomb at his Smithereens. I think it's just going to come down to that artillery park will run out of ammunition, but will it be too late? Yeah, I think it kind of already is. There's like one supply truck which is supplying, but I haven't really kept track of any supply trucks he's actually brought.
It's just this one right here. It's the one that exists already as a position, and then the other one.
Yeah.
That's just been brought on in.
Yeah, he has 4 in total, so he should maybe have 2 more left if another supply truck hasn't been brought out and just blown up here. But the BZA 76s from Farid, very good call, using them to zone out the center. And also using, you know, the few of his 82mm mortars. Actually dropping in smoke on the 75mm. I think he's going to use that to screen the ray for an infantry push.
I think it's for the T-34-85. So, because the T-34-85, if it comes out of the actual trees, that's not a great position. I agree, it probably is in part for the DPs, but I think it's a multi-purpose in this particular case.
And whole heap of M14s down south.
Exactly. I was taking a look at that. Again, the G55s have been nigh on omnipresent throughout this entire battle. Really, really good usage here.
Yep, I think one's going to shoot down the Yak, and that Yak does get attacked.
And actually, that's the only other Yak that's here, so there is no more fighter aircraft.
Yeah. Oh, really anti-air. Like, the anti-air has just been... You see it get brought out, and then you see it get blown up. There's a decent anti-aircraft position up north, but all those 85mm positions, they're gone. They're not coming back. It's very good aerial suppression here from Luna.
True. MG-42, by the way, gets actually crashed down upon by the recon plane. The 2002s, I'm not sure I'd say it's a really great year, but regardless, it's a fairly good bombing run.
Yeah, managing to keep that southern hill under control. And at this point, between Maverick and Maverick, it's, you know, it's 2 very exhausted boxers, is throwing in one punch here and there. It's probably never going to go past like a 13-11. It's very hard to gain that momentum when all you have is 80 points a minute.
true, but if you can go and remove enough of the opposition in one particular area, I would say that's definitely an opportunity. T-30-45, by the way, one shot from that 75 mil gun jam. So, yeah. Not a great thing to be seeing. Also, 3 squads of Alpinis, an MG-42. Yeah, there's some strange kind of scratch attack troops kind of moving forward with this. And I think, T-30-45 goes down with a beautiful long-distance shot. I don't know. I disagree. I think there's going to be a 14-10, potentially even a 15-9. But I would say not within the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, it's just slow back and forth. It's just both sides are very slow now in their attacks. It's just, grindy infantry battles with artillery back and forth. TU2 coming in. Those Alpinis are making a very nice push, but not any longer because they are now thoroughly pinned down, and one is completely dead.
G55 claiming another kill in the meantime. And while these mortars are great in trying to engage the Italian, almost a German, the Italian lung, I kind of get the feeling that these M14s down to the south are going to be able to take on most, if not all, comers.
Yeah, I mean, those Su-76s are deadly, but with that light armor, it's a pretty even fight between them and the M14 at CQC range. And those M14s are 15 points. Yes, Su-76s are 45 points.
Well, unless the Su-152 gets an opportunity to say hello.
I always kind of risk they buff to explosives and like super large guns like that, because in real life, if 152mm shot hit an M14 directly, it's probably not going to have a very good day.
Well, now he looks like they're having some bad days as is. And a bit of the AI kind of working against them here. 152 does go down. Su-76s realize, we've lost our biggest fan, and start pulling back the other direction.
They don't want any of that smoke. I guess if you get 2 Su-76s together, you get one Su-152 or Su-152. I think that's how it works.
Mathematically, yes. Intellectually, I'm not sure it really has the same kind of approach. But
I thought the Soviets would just assemble 2 Su-76s and then they put it into the Su-152 factory and they're just kind of like squeeze them together.
That kind of makes a weird sort of sense. Instead of having half a turret, we have an actual turret. It's not a great one, but it still technically exists as a turret. I can see that. Right.
It's not going to matter.
The T-34 should have been a T-34, or the upgun should have been a T-68. But
yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and you just keep like multiplying and multiplying. You get 2 ISU-152s together and you get a 304.
Well, if you want to see that, you just go to play World of Tanks, because I'm pretty sure that kind of thing's in there.
Probably some paper napkin design from some Soviet engineer which got gulagged.
Actually, that's how you know it wasn't a Soviet design, because it was invented in the Gulag.
And then they took him out of the Gulag. Like, oh, you're useful now.
You adopted the Gulag. I was born.
But yeah, people are dying all over so far in this match. The Su-76 or the single one left, does manage to come out on top in that southern hill position, and Luna is managing to take down Farid. It still feels like this is anyone's game at this point. It's just small little skirmishes back and forth.
Yeah, and while a lot of the munitions have been spent by the Italians, you still have things like this Ju-87, which is going to make a lovely little gun run and should be able... Yep. 2 shots, the Su-76. He might die, but still. Ju-87, he's done his job today.
And Taro going in hot as well. Might suffer the same fate. Yeah, poor Parfin there from the poor Parfin from the airplane, I meant to say. But he's fast enough, so he doesn't care. That's a really fast aircraft, I forgot.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Third supply truck being brought on in. He is just getting these guys rocking and rolling right back again. And they're going to go after the 37 mil. So another artillery strike going in on the anti-air position. And this has been the constant thing that we've seen, actually, I would argue, all week. We see support team setup, we see counter battery fire, and we've seen very, very effective counter battery fire.
Yeah, I think that's really been the game winner here so far for Luna. And it's 14-10. It was at 15-9 early, and I think that's just due to the far north, which is pretty much blue at this point. There's one tanker that's on UT and PTR squad holding the town, but well, with no Molotovs left, those tankers don't have too much they can do apart from just hold territory.
Well, that's 2 flags as well. 2 achievable flags, for that matter. So 16-8, 15-9. Yeah, I mean, this is when it starts getting really quite dicey. Yes, you should be able to take it back, but your attack and your retaking that territory is going to be so slow. Is it worth it?
And costly. With 80 points, it's hard to mount offensive operations.
Exactly. Exactly. Northern side, there's an M14 sitting in defilade. When I say in defilade, it means he's actually in the next lawn, just waiting for that T-34 maybe to drop on by, and then he's going to come up behind him. No? Yes? Maybe.
Come on, do it. Flank.
Apparently, I think there's a gentleman's agreement. There should be no attack today. But the unsung, or rather, we've been singing the praises, but the unsung heroes, I think, from a lot of this have been this artillery.
Yeah, it's just been constantly putting pressure and really allowing the Italians to actually, move up and gain territory.
Now, let's say you're across this for a second, because I feel like the 26th, that's we see a surrender over here. The 26th really does have
44th.
ways. I'm sorry, thank you. I'm sure I saw 26th here. But 44th over here does have ways of actually dealing with artillery spam. At least I would argue it does anyway.
Yeah, it just needed. I mean, you can bring in quite a decent amount of artillery of your own, but Farid opted more for the off-map artillery variety, which did do well, but it's also rather limited in number. And also the problem, I think, was also having a lot of T-34 85s in his decks. I do believe you can get a little bit more T-34 76s for 44th, but the 85s are just way too overkill when fighting against the Italians. There's no Tigers need to blow up. The scariest thing is a P26/40, and that is it's barely even a medium tank. Well, it's kind of a medium tank, but anyway, it's just
It aspires to greatness.
It aspires to greatness. But yeah,
funny thing, yeah.
No, go ahead.
I'd say the funny thing about this, if you look at the losses though too, there's not that many Italians that really were stand out jobs. There's the one Ju-87 that's got 4 ground kills, but when push comes to shove, the Italians weren't extremely killy. It's just they traded better than their Soviet counterparts.
Just managing to put down the suppression, and just trading 1-to-1 with the infantry, but the Italian infantry is pretty solid. I mean, the kills, the T-34 at the start did decent. Yeah, honestly, the Soviet armor is doing pretty decent all around. But of course, they're killing very cheap, inexpensive Italian vehicles.
Exactly. The Su-76 goes and takes out 4 of the M14s, or sorry, 2 M14s and 2 M15s, but it's okay. Congratulations, you have only marginally paid yourself off. That's not that fantastic. So, well done regardless. Honestly, I think it's kind of crazy that both sides have gotten the losses that they had, and yet still we have the result here. I mean, the Italians are not meant to be a brawly division, but they were able to do that here today.
Yeah, managed to play in that CQC environment rather well, and not get forced into, scary open field battles. Those Alpinis want to stay in the Alpine.
Exactly. But I think that about does it for us today, doesn't it, sir?
Indeed.
Okay, folks, with that in mind then, I would just say until next time, this is Consolidating.
I'm Rangru, take it easy.